I'll approve it, but in the future, I won't approve a 1-week request for something like this.
Okay. And again, they've been traveling down to Martha's Vineyard for a
Right.
number of years now. This looks like something a little different tournament.
That's
but-
why I'm not concerned, but
Yeah.
it's different, it's a new
Yeah.
tournament, and we really need more notice than a week.
Okay. All right, we have a
Gonna-
motion by, who do we have a motion by?
I'll
Anyone
make a
move?
motion to
Motion
approve
from
it.
Karen, second.
I'll second.
Second by Cliff. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none. Motion carries by a vote of 5-0. And now we have the superintendent's plan for,
Give her vision.
what's that?
Her vision.
Her vision.
Loves this stuff.
I don't know
I'm
about
just telling you.
tonight.
What's the word she used? Be audacious?
Be audacious.
Superintendent's plan for improvement and.
Audacious continuous improvement.
Audacious.
Be audacious.
You gonna take over?
Yes, I'll be projecting on that screen, so I
It's gonna
don't
be like
want
the
to
town
blind
budget.
you.
We spent 3 hours on policy updates and 15 minutes on that. Yeah.
Okay. Very good. Well, thank you very much. A little bit of a recap from the last time, when I was here at the school committee meeting 2 weeks ago. We talked a little bit about some of the initial steps to the development of North Reading Public Schools 2016, a strategy for the future. And as I had told you at that particular time, the leadership team had been using the book Strategy in Action, How School Systems Can Support Powerful Learning and Teaching to frame the work that we were doing. We talked a little bit last time about what is a strategy, deliberate actions to accomplish a collective purpose, and we talked about what's the difference between strategic planning and effective strategy development. So in the educational field, when we talk about strategy, it's very important to focus on the instructional core. Everything we do, every decision that we make, needs to be made with the student, the teacher, and content in mind. Each point is critical, and when we make a change to one point of the triangle, we need to make a change to all points in order for this to be effective. I went on to talk a little bit about the work that was done by the leadership team regarding the development of a vision, and this is where audacious came from, a quote from John Dewey. The new vision for the North Reading Public Schools, as voted by the committee, is to prepare all students to be productive citizens who thrive in the 21st century. There was a mission that existed in this district. We revised it a little bit to reflect 21st century learning. I'm not going to read it to you. We reviewed it the last time. But it was very important as we went through this process to take a look at where do we want to be and how are we going to get there. So these bullets just talk a little bit about the process that we went through to develop a continuous improvement plan. At the outset of the work that we did, we took a look at all of the district initiatives that are taking place across this district. And what we did was group them and regroup them. We ended up with 8 different categories. And we defined those categories very clearly, and then we assessed the existence of a strategy. As we went through our book, we discovered that there are 4 principles of effective strategy, and those principles are the instructional core, focus, coherence, and synergy, visionary and problem solving, and ownership and enactment throughout the system. And each one of those particular principles has a rubric associated with it. So we took a look at all of those categories that we had identified, and there were 8 of them, with a variety of different initiatives in each one of those categories, and we rated those categories using this rubric to define where we wanted to place our focus as we develop a continuous improvement plan. And we decided that we needed to focus on focus, coherence, and synergy to make sure that our strategic objectives are tightly integrated, they're complementary, and high leverage, focusing on improving student learning and teaching quality. So that's where our major focus is for this entire continuous improvement plan. As we took a look at those 8 categories, we again tried to make connections between them to identify major strategy areas where we would place our energies. And once we did that, we created a theory of action for each of those major strategy areas and a few strategic objectives and initiatives. So now I'd like to let you know that the 3 strategy areas that we have identified are teaching and learning, student services, and technology integration. Underneath teaching and learning, we identified 3 strategic objectives on which we will focus between 3 and 5 years. And as you can see, the first objective is to align our K-12 curriculum, both between grades and across grades, to the Massachusetts curriculum frameworks and the Common Core standards. Our second objective is to make sure that we hire and retain highly qualified staff, and we have the criteria that will guide us to do so. Objective 3 is to use our data to improve student learning outcomes. And underneath each one of these objectives, there are initiatives that I will further define for you at another meeting. But this is a broad overview to give you an understanding of what we've been doing and where we think we're going. Under student support services, again, 3 strategic objectives: to develop in-district programming that meets the needs of all of our students, to design professional development for our educators to support the implementation of a comprehensive instructional model, and then to create a consistent instructional process that focuses on student learning to measure individual student progress. And under technology integration, again, 3 strategic objectives: to hire and retain highly qualified technology staff, to develop a shared district technology vision, and to enhance the technology infrastructure and support system in the district. Right around the mid-year point, I put out a 2-page overview to the educators in this district around the work that we had been doing up until this point. And we called it NRPS 2016, a strategy for the future. I believe I emailed it to the school committee as well, and it's on the school district website. And it adds a little more narrative to these bullet points that I've talked with you about tonight. So what are our next steps? Our next steps are to finalize the multi-year action plan by clearly articulating our initiatives, identifying, of course, the persons responsible, the timeline for implementation, what resources are required, and what we expect by doing these activities, these outcomes, these initiatives. We need to make sure that all stakeholders are informed and involved, and we need to gather their feedback. Then we need to implement the plan and, of course, evaluate it and start again. So, what does this mean in terms of the budget and laying the foundation for the FY13 budget as well as future budgets? Earlier this year, the school committee asked me to come back to them with a vision for the future. And so what you have included in your packet are some suggestions for a multi-year strategic budget vision. And the leadership team was very much involved in identifying what these priority areas are that were connected to those 3 major strategy areas. So you can see that we had 5 proposals that we included in your packet for this evening, which were increase technology staff, restore professional development funding, eliminate middle school study halls, purchase K-8 science materials, and restore the small capital budget. In your packet, I provided for you an overview of this multi-year strategic budget vision that really breaks down each one of these proposals, links it back to one of those strategic objectives, and talks about the costs that would be incurred in year 1, 2, or 3 of implementation of these particular items. And then you'll see in your packet that each proposal has been fully developed with a description, a proposal, and a cost analysis. During these very difficult budgetary times, I am a realist. It is clear to me that there are not lots of funds that are available to us in order to implement this budget vision immediately. And as I went through this process, I really questioned whether or not I should bring this forward to you. But as I thought more about it, I think it's very important for me as the leader of this organization and for you as a school committee to recognize that the leaders in this district do have a vision for the future. We do know where we need to go to be able to improve student achievement and to be able to provide continuous improvement for all of the educators and students in this district. And so I bring this forward to you tonight as a vision, recognizing that the funding will be challenging, but to note that we do know where we need to go. And I wanted to fulfill a requirement and a request that you had provided to me. So at this particular time, I can take any questions and answers, and I just want to remind you, be audacious.
Is that you?
No, that's not me. But I would feel a little trepidation were I standing where she is standing, and I've been there, and I.
Questions or comments on the superintendent's plan?
Kathy, I think every one of these requests is justified, and unless we find a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, I don't think the money's there to do all, if any of them. I guess my question is that, my first question, all of these numbers for year one would be in addition to, it would be over and above level services, correct?
Oh, that is very correct. Yes.
Because I look at these, and while I think every single one of them needs to be implemented, if I could implement one, I would eliminate middle school study halls 5 out of 5 times. Because to me, having kids sit in 3 study halls over a 6-day period is just a waste of time, having those kids in those classes maybe doing their homework, but it just doesn't make sense to me. I guess it's frustrating because I look at this and I wonder, and I know the answer is no, but is there anything in the budget that exists today that's planned for next year that we could swap out for some of these things?
Are you asking me? I will let you know that next time we get together on February 27th, the preliminary budget proposal for FY13 will be presented to you. We are coming in with a level services budget for the staffing side of the budget. But I can tell you, for the last 5 years, the expense side of the budget has been level funded. As a matter of fact, it actually represents an 18% decrease. So we have not maintained even a level services budget over the last 5 years. So as we take a look at what we're currently offering, I believe that we're offering what we need. In order to move any of these initiatives forward, we would need to dramatically either change what we're doing currently or find alternative funding resources to be able to do this.
Is there a process in place to find alternative funding resources?
Well, at this point in time, we're taking a look at what are some of the opportunities that are available to us. As you know, you've seen that the Education Foundation has launched. So we now have a North Reading Education Foundation. I'm an ex officio member of that board of directors. And so I attend those meetings, and we're already talking about what are some of the priority areas for funding. They're making it very clear, though, that in no way, shape, or form would funds supplant the operational budget. It needs to supplement the operational budget. So they wouldn't necessarily put forth funding to hire personnel. But that's one source
But they
of.
could buy the science case.
Absolutely. And
In books and other materials. and
technology.
Musical instruments. and-
Technology, exactly. So it's the staffing positions that I think provide the most challenge, Mel, as far as the current budget. But that doesn't mean that that precludes us from looking at corporation or foundation grants that are out there.
So to eliminate study hall in middle school looks like it's only 1.1 person.
$70,000.
Is it even that?
It's about it is
I think when you include
7157.
benefits, Mike, it gets up to. But to me,
It's not a lot of money.
that's something worth trying to find $71,000 for. If you could find any money anywhere.
Actually, this is a good job because it's not overly ambitious. It's something that's realistic. We came in here with something that's realistic, and I think they're excellent priorities. I agree with Mel. I think, and Mike, if we could eliminate those study halls for that type of a cost. The problem, just so people know, is we're looking at an extreme, and we'll see this next week when the budget's presented, a very substantial budget deficit just to move forward with level services. So to come up with, it doesn't sound like a lot of money, but it's a lot of money when you have a shortfall of maybe $1 million. But I think this is a good job because I like the fact that it's realistic. And it's something we could actually look at and try to implement some of these things.
And
it should be part of the budget discussion. You know, because budgets are